City Water Utilities Trust for June 7th will be in order. First item on the agenda is approval of the meeting from minutes from the May 17th meeting.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Are there comments or questions? Voting, please. Minutes are approved. Next item is the consent docket.
Individual consideration. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Are there items to be discussed separately?
Excuse me, a question on 3B.7, which is a change order at the Hefner Water Treatment Plant. And the question is, there's considerable construction around that plant right now. And part of it, and it probably isn't directly associated with this particular project, is the work being done in Bluff Creek Park and across Murphy Park. And it seems like that has been disruptive to the park activity for some time now. Do we have any kind of feel for when that project might be completed so we could turn the park back over to the people?
Mr. Simandy will help us with that question.
Hi, this is Sam Simandy. There's a number of projects going on, as you mentioned, around Lake Hefner. The project that you're specifically referring to is the construction of a 42-inch pipeline that's coming out of Hefner, going out west and goes through the park properties. We hope that portion of that pipeline will be finished up by September, and the park will be restored to its original condition.
September?
Yes.
Okay. And it seemed like that long before the project started out there, there was a whole lot of pipe and construction materials set out there. I understand why you did that, but it seemed like that makes it appear to be much longer than it has to be.
Yeah, the contractors started first by doing their bores across the Hefner roadway. That stuff took a little bit of time to do. And they wanted to get all the bores out of the way, then they come back and install them.
How long will Hefner be narrowed to one lane going west?
Hefner will be remaining as it is. We will not...
Well, it's narrowed to one lane now for construction.
Yeah, that won't take very long.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get you more details back about the project
Okay.
schedule.
Further questions or comments concerning the consent docket? Hearing none, voting please. Consent docket's approved. Next item is a concurrent docket, 3 items.
Move approval. Second.
Motion and a second on the concurrence docket. Items to be discussed separately. Voting please. Concurrence docket's approved. Next item is concerning easements.
Will we accept the easements?
Second.
Have to have separate votes up there. No. They do not. Okay. Have a motion to accept the easements under item 5. Are there questions or comments? Hearing none, voting please. Easements are accepted. Next item, item 6, is reports.
Move we receive the reports.
Second.
Motion and a second to receive the reports. Are there comments on the monthly pro forma and status report?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of things that I found interesting personally. You'll notice under revenues that one of the things we track is that system development charges or impact fees, to see whether we're keeping up with what we would have considered a predictable volume of work. On the water side, the fiscal year target is $500,000. We're at $387,000 for income. That would tell me we're going to run a little bit short on the water side. On the sewer side, though, interestingly enough, we're actually doing a little bit better than we would have forecast. When you look at the sewer, we're under revenues. If you look at system development impacts, that's the second line under revenues, you'll see that we have an additional $1.5 million over what we had forecast there. $1.3 million of that is our contribution from PACOM for construction of a wastewater line. The data doesn't quite match. We'll go back and take a look at, once we remove the contributions that are coming in through system development charges, we'll go back and take a look at what made the difference in our forecast and see what we think about for next year. Overall, water is a fairly standard number because it's based on the meter size and the numbers of meters sold. It's a more trackable number from my perspective than wastewater is. I think
Last year, did we see a decline in meter installations because of the downturn in residential construction?
yes, we remain on the low side of normal. I believe last year we were finishing up the federal housing incentives. There were still houses under construction during part of the fiscal year related to that incentive program. And we saw pretty close to normal. It seems to me we sold 2,700, 3,000 meters. We would consider 3,000 total meters sold to be a low base number. It had been as high before the downturn at the peak of 4,700 meters in a year. So we are again seeing a low normal number. We think we're going to be at 2,700 meters sold this year.
Do we consider these fees to be leading indicators of activity? I mean, if you add up meters, we expect to see revenues increasing the following year?
Yes. Yes, it's an indicator of the total number of new connections we're making outside the downtown area.
Okay.
What restrictions are there on the funds that we receive from the current tap fee?
We put those incomes into a construction. Generally, we try to put that into pipelines we're constructing where we're backstopping an existing service or cost participation in an oversize. Under Policy A and Policy B, for water and sewer separately, you could build a 12-inch main, and you might need to build a 12-inch main. We might ask you to upsize it to a 16 and pay for 25% of the cost of the 16-inch main, or $3 an inch diameter for that.
And that I'm sure that funding would come out of the impact fee fund.
Yes, we don't prohibit. We will spend money from other sources, but that's the first source.
Any further comments about the report? Have a motion and a second to receive it. Voting, please. Report's received. Item 7, item for individual consideration. The first item is item A concerning a utility permit, I-35 and Northeast 50th.
Move the permit be received.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to receive the permit. Questions? Voting, please. Permit's received. Second one, item 7B, adopt a resolution authorizing the sole source purchase of Izona brand repair ozone stuff.
Move the item.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve.
Marcia, help me remember, we've been generating ozone or treatment out there for about 15 years,
Yes?
and are these the original ozone generators, or have we replaced them?
We have supplemented them. We had an ozone project that changed how we do it and improved the efficiency of ozone.
Of the ozone generators, because they're very energy,
Yes.
they're high energy users, and so we modified that.
Yes, we went to an oxygen delivery system through the ozone.
And so the dryers, okay, we used to dry the air and stick them in, now we put oxygen in there and convert the oxygen into ozone.
Yes,
Okay, but they're the same ozone generators per se?
essentially.
And the basins are all the same and such, although I'm sure you changed out the diffusers and
Yes.
had issues with the diffusers over years.
Yes, the
Okay.
you're right, the diffusers have a high maintenance item, and that has changed in some respects.
We've changed those out a couple of times, at least once,
Yes.
if I recall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Further comments? Have a motion and a second on item 7B. Voting, please. 7B is approved. Item 7C, resolution authorizing the general manager to use existing contracts concerning the point-to-point network at the Draper Water Treatment Plant.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item 7C. Are there comments?
Mr. Chairman, the point-to-point network is, I must say, was a terminology that confused me, but essentially, we've got high-speed internet, Ethernet connection that will now allow the modern instrumentation that we put in to fully function. We're very excited about making that improvement for the operators.
Further comments? Voting, please. Resolution's approved. Is there any new business? Comments from trustees?
Mr. Chairman, a quick question. One of the projects we adopted today was the acceptance of a system that was put in, and we had an indication there was a 2-year maintenance bond in place. How does the maintenance bond work in terms of, does there have to be an allegation or a failure of either a material or workmanship for that to take place? Or if we just have a failure in the system and we can't attribute it logically to either bad materials or bad workmanship, does the maintenance bond still cover that?
Generally, any failure in the first 2 years is the responsibility of the construction contractor.
For the most part, notwithstanding a lightning strike or a knowing misuse of the facilities, that any defect in material and workmanship is the responsibility of the contractor for 2 years.
So if there's a sporadic failure that cannot be attributed to either poor workmanship or poor material, it's up to the city to repair. Is that correct?
Well, there's also warranty issues. We also have the contractor, when he installs equipment, to have the warranties be put in the name of the city. And so if it were a fluctuating problem, we might look into whether or not the equipment is operating properly and whether or not we should enforce the warranty with the manufacturer.
But absent warranty or poor construction or poor materials, then it's up to us to repair it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Questions from, or comments from staff?
One more thing, Marcia, can you give us an update on the release from Canton? I know you took about 29,000 acre-feet, I believe, and it started coming in like last Tuesday or so. And
We did.
How much are we recovering, and what do we think our final lake elevation is going to be? That was a compound question.
Lake Hefner is at 1193 right this minute. It's very exciting. Up 2.5 feet from the release, and about 6,000 acre-feet have entered the lake so far. We have about another week's worth of water to get. Unfortunately, the Corps of Engineers electronic system is down this morning, and we'll have to get you some more information about how much flow is actually coming down the river.
But you think probably a couple more feet, so we'll probably get up to about 1195.
Yes, I do.
In full, the elevation of the lake full is 1199, so we'll be about 4 feet down then.
Yes.
Okay.
About how much of that water actually reaches Oklahoma City? I know we talk about the riverbed absorbing it. Is there a rough percentage that we know of?
We
The
have,
last one is 100 degrees outside.
yeah.
Well, I understand that's a variable kind of thing, but on average over the long year.
We hope for 70%. It's been as low as 50%. It's hard to know given exactly how hot and dry it's become. We did lose some water early on into the alluvium, and then that we kind of caught up with that.
Although when you started the release, we just had some rains and the water bed was pretty well saturated. The riverbeds are saturated, so.
But even under the best of conditions, maybe 70% would be. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I mean, there have been times where you've got rainfall during it, and you've had over 100%, but that's only because of supplemental rainfall that occurs during the release.
Further questions? Citizens? Hearing none, we stand adjourned.